My friends, pay close attention because today the war has come closer to Israel than on any other day of this new round. Alarms are sounding in Jordan, missiles coming from Iran towards Aqaba. For those who don't know, it's right next to the city of Eilat. And this time the explosions were heard inside Israel in Eilat, with shrapnel falling in the northern part of the city. And the important detail is that the Americans knew, they warned hours before. Jordan denied everything, said everything was normal, and hours later the missiles came. Meanwhile, 3 American soldiers died, and 2 died while sleeping in Jordan, right? They became the trigger for the American response from the previous night, the 8th consecutive night of attacks from inside Iran without stopping for a single day. We'll probably soon start the 9th consecutive day of attacks against Iran. And look at what I'm going to do in this video with you. I'm going to show you the timeline of Aqaba minute by minute, because this timeline reveals something that no one is saying out loud. I'm also going to show you where the Americans struck this morning and what the targets reveal about the next phase. I'm going to tell you here about the Hezbollah cell that reached the floor below where Netanyahu's son was on the other side of the world. I'm also going to show you why it's no exaggeration to say that a part of this planet is plunged into war at this very moment. So stay with me until the end, because those who leave in the middle, as always, miss exactly the piece that connects everything. Live from Israel, right where everything is happening. Local time is 1:50. If you're joining in, go ahead and leave your like on this video now so you don't forget to do it later. So do it now so you don't forget later, guys, right now. Hit that like button and help the channel a lot. But before I go through this piece by piece, let me give you the framework. We always have to set the context to understand, right, how this day was or how the next day will be, right? Just one sentence. The world is entering a darker period, we could say, of wars. Pay attention to this because this is the key to the whole video. It's not just here in the Middle East. Look at the whole picture for a second, guys. Everyone talks about the Middle East all the time, but it's not just here. Europe, Russia, and Ukraine are experiencing the most intense days of this conflict in a long time. Both sides are exchanging fire without a truce. Cities are being hit, buildings are on fire, and civilian casualties are mounting on both sides of the border. And notice what both sides are targeting. Energy. Russia is hitting Ukrainian cities and the power grid, and Ukraine is sending drones more than 2,000 kilometers into Russian territory, targeting the refineries. According to figures from the Ukrainian side itself, a large part of Russia's refining capacity is already out of commission. In other words, it no longer exists. In other words, oil and energy are becoming targets over there, just like they're becoming targets here. Is all of this that's happening just a coincidence, folks? I won't discuss Ukraine here, as it's not what this channel is about or today's topic. But keep the picture in mind. There are two big wars on both sides of the map, both hitting refineries, power plants, and infrastructure. It's the whole planet slipping back into war. And here we are right in the middle of all this. Now let's talk about what happened here in the region. And let's start with the city of Aqaba, because the order in which things happen tells a story that almost no one is showing you. Aqaba, I'll put it on the map here so you can understand what I'm talking about, okay? Aqaba, let me put up the map of the plains while we're at it. Just a second. Let's change the view here to this map. The city of Aqaba, it's right here. Look, let's go back here. You can see here Aqaba is on this side. Look, and here is Eilat. This is the border between Israel and Jordan, right here. Off to the side, there are hotels here in Eilat on the Red Sea. On the other side, there are hotels on the Red Sea too, so there's practically no distance between them. Basically, they share the same shoreline here on the Red Sea. And Aqaba Airport is right here, look. King Hussein Airport and Eilat Airport is right here, look. This one is Israel's airport. You cross the border and you arrive at Aqaba Airport, okay? With that understood, let's continue our conversation here. Here are the planes right now taking off from Aqaba Airport. Aqaba has become a real American base. They're just leaving the airport. They're probably on their way to the Gulf, right? To see what will happen during the night. Pay attention to the sequence, hour by hour, everyone, hour by hour. In a bit, I'll go back to the map again. First, the American embassy in Amman, the capital of Jordan, issued a security alert. Security. It says the following: that because of a specific and concrete threat, the Jordanian authorities evacuated the international airport and the port of Aqaba, that airport I showed earlier, and strongly recommends that no American gets close to that airport. And then came the strange part of the story. The spokesperson for the Jordanian government went public and completely denied it, saying that no evacuation order was given, that the airport and the port are operating normally, and that no threat has been detected in the last few hours. In other words, the Americans are saying there's a threat, evacuate everything, and the Jordanians are saying there's nothing, everything is normal. And what happened? A few hours later, the spokesperson for the Israeli army announced launches identified as coming from Iran toward the city of Aqaba. There, in the Red Sea, which I just showed you, right next to the border with Israel, and they warned that part of this fire could end up spilling over into Israeli territory, and that alarms could go off in the city down south, that is, in the city of Eilat. There was a risk of an alert. Jordan said it shot down 3 Iranian missiles and that a fourth fell in a desert area. But according to Israel, the heavy lifting in interception was done by the American defense systems, and Israel also shot down fragments that could cross into our territory. In Eilat, residents heard the explosions. They heard interceptor debris falling in the northern part of Eilat with no injuries, thank God, at least that, right? Flights to Ramon Airport were delayed and cancelled. So this airport here, look. This airport in Israel is right next to it, and apparently the target was this airport here in Jordan. But look how easy it is for things to spill over to the Israeli side, right? Very easy. And here is the Israeli airport. It's practically right next to the other one. It's not directly in front of the other, but the distance between them is very short, so both airports, this one and this one, were closed because of the attacks that happened today in Israel. In other words, with each passing day, this is getting closer and closer. Now, these images here are also from today, folks. This is in Kuwait. It says Iran there. Let me remove Iran here. These images, the first images, are from Kuwait. Pay close attention. This all happened today. And now, let's go back to the timeline here and answer me a very simple question, folks. If there was no threat at all, as Jordan said, why did the Americans evacuate everyone and tell American citizens to flee that region? And the answer is very obvious. There was a threat, the Americans knew about it, their intelligence picked up the signal long before it happened, they probably intercepted the orders from there that this launch would be in the direction of Aqaba, and Aqaba is a sensitive place, folks. It's sensitive. There's even a submarine, an image of a submarine that you saw there. It was recorded today in the city of Eilat, a submarine. This one, look. For the first time, an Israeli submarine was recorded like this anywhere, folks. Whether in the Mediterranean Sea or in Eilat, this was today. It was stationed in the Eilat region, likely awaiting events. Jordan publicly denied it, likely to prevent panic and avoid admitting it had become a battlefield, which it had. And hours later, the missile came exactly where the Americans pointed. So, keep this lesson in mind because it will be important in the coming days when the American embassy orders an evacuation somewhere. Pay attention to the place. They don't do this for no reason. And now, in the last few days, the United States issued a statement to the whole world for all Americans everywhere to stay alert. I think it's the first time the American government has issued a statement to the whole world, folks. To the whole world, for all Americans on the planet to stay alert. Look at that. This is big. This is huge. And also, remember what this means for us. Iran's missiles landed at Israel's doorstep, even closer than where I live. The explosions were heard in Eilat. The shrapnel fell in an Israeli neighborhood. The war is literally right up against our fence. I think just for this, the video already deserves your like, folks. It already deserves your like. So go ahead and hit that like button. There are 4,400 people here and only 2,200 likes. You guys need to hit that like button. And if you aren't subscribed, because I know you're not subscribed. I know because 50% of the people who watch this channel aren't subscribed. So go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on the notification bell, guys. Turn on the notification bell because without it, you're going to miss out right when this takes a turn. So share it with your family and work groups too, because a lot of people think this ended back in March, but it didn't, guys. The war is still going on. Now let's talk about last night's early hours, okay? I'm not even going to talk about tonight's early hours because it just started. Now, let's start with last night's early hours, the 8th consecutive night of American operations. And there are two important details here as well. The first is that the American command itself made it very clear that this round was also a response to the death of the 2 soldiers in Jordan. And the head of American defense, the head of defense of the United States, wrote that the loss of these soldiers only strengthens the determination of the United States. Do you remember that attack that happened in Jordan where the Americans said there were no casualties? Well, 2 soldiers died while sleeping in the dormitories, okay? And today, more are missing. There are also missing soldiers. And pay close attention to the significance of this decision, folks. When the United States loses soldiers like this, two options open up. They can pull back to avoid getting involved in an even bigger conflict or double down and retaliate immediately. So that's what happened, folks. In less than 24 hours, the response came. They didn't back down, they attacked the Americans again. The second detail is that the scale of last night's attacks was lower than on previous nights. It was more limited, and the targets also tell a story. According to some members here of the Israeli army, these targets were more limited the previous night and still are tonight because of the World Cup. So that's it, it's over. There's no more excuse for anyone. Yesterday was weak, and Trump could open the gates of hell for Iran at any moment, just like he said himself, on any of these nights. It wasn't supposed to be yesterday, but it should have been yesterday. But it didn't happen. It might happen today. According to Iranian sources, the Americans hit a series of points down south again, almost all of them right next to the strait. I'll spare you the names, folks. There are a lot of names, but what really matters here is the pattern. Again, it's ports, and access points. Those were yesterday's targets, but one didn't fit the pattern. The northernmost point, on the way to another important port, already near the border with Iraq. It's a sign that this siege might be expanding toward additional sea access points. Let's return to the map to display the points attacked so far in real time. Everything you see here is live. Many are already familiar with this map. Here are the targets, that were attacked in the last few nights. Bandara Base, as always, look at the number of strikes here at Bandara Base, and there was also an earthquake today right here. Here in this region, 4.9 on the Richter scale in the Sharak area. There was an earthquake in Sharak. It's already the third consecutive earthquake in the southern region of Iran, just to record that here as well. And here are the attacks on Jordan on the American base. There's satellite imagery showing that they managed to hit some hangars here at this base. And today, here in Aqaba, you can see it here, look. Interceptor launches in the Islet region. This is the border, just to remind you. There were shots here too and sirens in this region. In other words, there was actual fire here in the southern region of Israel as well. Let's continue. Take a look. It's stretching further and further in there near Kuwait. In other words, even on a quieter night, like last night, the pattern remains the same as I've been showing you here. Ports, access points, routes, step by step, piece by piece. And there was a serious accusation from Iran. The Iranian Atomic Energy Agency said that the Americans hit the area of the Darkovin nuclear plant early this morning, which is still under construction in Khuzestan. So, hold on a second. Let's be careful, as this needs context. Israeli analysts point out that if there was any kind of strike at this plant, which is still under construction, the likely target wasn't the plant itself, but rather air defense batteries that the Revolutionary Guard positions right next to this plant. On purpose, using the plant as a shield. Just like they use human beings as human shields, right? They also use the plant as a human shield. It's an old trick of the regime and of terrorist organizations like Hezbollah to place military equipment next to things or people that can't be hit. And then they shout to the world when the fighting gets close. So let it be recorded here as an accusation against the regime, and with this perspective from the other side, and you decide what is true or not. On the Iranian side, the response from early morning and the response now, they're attacking Kuwait right now with drones, Yesterday's early morning response was also more limited, focused on the Erbil region, there in Iraqi Kurdistan. But Iran's day was not limited, folks, with its neighbors, and it was far from that. In Kuwait, look, it's also happening there now, It's happening right at this moment. The power station and the water desalination plant were hit for the second time in 2 days. Fire. A big fire over there, power generation units damaged and shut down, second time in the same place, affecting water and electricity in a country in the middle of the desert at 50 degrees. And along with it came the threat, straight from the mouth of a member of Iran's National Security Committee. He said that Kuwait needs to know that their situation, after all this is over, will not go back to normal. That fire, shots coming from Kuwait. We know that the Americans are firing from Kuwait towards Iraq, towards Iran, right? And he is saying that shots fired from Kuwait will be treated as direct aggression and that they will treat Kuwait in a very special way. This is an open threat against the whole country. Remember that they have already threatened to conquer Kuwait and to conquer Bahrain. Remember that? Back then, before this war, they started talking about this several times, guys. And there's more. According to reports, Iran has informed Saudi Arabia and Oman that it plans to strike the United Arab Emirates in a significant way. That was exactly the word they used, guys. Significant. So write down the sequence here. Kuwait getting hit in terms of water and electricity, the Emirates openly targeted, and Jordan receiving a missile at Israel's doorstep. The regime that has sold itself all these years as resisting Israel is spending all its arsenal against its Arab neighbors. And now, let me tell you a story that shows this arm of the regime reaches much farther than the Gulf, because this story has already knocked on a door on the other side of the world. After Khamenei left the scene, probably, we don't know exactly because not everything has been disclosed yet, maybe on the same day or the day after, a Hezbollah cell tried to eliminate Yair Netanyahu. Yair Netanyahu is the son of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The assassination attempt didn't happen in Israel, it was in Miami. He lives in Miami, in the United States. For those who don't know, he has lived in Florida for years, under the protection of Shin Bet, not Mossad. Mossad doesn't provide their security. The agency responsible for the security of ministers abroad and figures like Yair Netanyahu, one of Netanyahu's family members, is Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service. And for months, he had been identified as one of the most vulnerable targets in this whole story. And according to reports from security sources, the terrorists got very close, a little too close. They were already, just so you have an idea, on the floor below his apartment when Shin Bet managed to foil the plan at the last moment. That's all I know, guys. I don't know if they were eliminated, if they were arrested. We don't know more than that. That was the only thing that was released just yesterday. That was released yesterday. And just think about the audacity of this. It's not about attacking a base in the middle of the desert. It's sending a cell to the heart of the United States, into an American city, after the son of the Prime Minister of Israel. And it didn't stop there, guys. An Israeli security source also revealed to an Arab channel that Tehran planned the elimination of high-ranking Israeli officials in Tel Aviv, inside Israel, as revenge for the death of Ali Khamenei. In other words, they don't stop for a second, even inside Israel. And then you ask me, who's going to do this inside Israel? There's no shortage, right, guys? There's no shortage of people who could do this kind of thing. There are the Palestinians, there's Hamas, there's Islamic Jihad, there are still terrorist cells inside Israel, absolutely for sure, and there are plenty of Arabs inside Israel. So, there really is no shortage of people who can do something like this. Miami on one side, Tel Aviv on the other, the same plan, the same hand behind it. Iran is behind all of this. And look how this risk is still very real right now. At this very moment, an interview with Prime Minister Netanyahu, a few hours ago actually, that was scheduled for tonight on Fox News, the biggest TV network in the United States, we know that, was cancelled, folks. It was cancelled. He was supposed to give them an interview and it was cancelled. And the reason they gave? Urgent security reasons. This was a little before the game started. He was supposed to give an interview and cancelled it for security reasons. So just think about how big this is, guys. It's the Prime Minister of Israel pulling himself off TV at the last minute for security reasons. So when even the Prime Minister's schedule has to yield to a threat like this, you understand the level of alert we're living under here. For this regime, there has never been a safe distance, never an ocean. And if you think this is something new, let me take you back in time, guys. Back, way back. Because this regime's reach has already gone way too far. On the 18th, that would be yesterday for you, right? It's already the 20th here in Israel. So let's say yesterday marked 32 years since the attack on the Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires. 85 people died. The worst terrorist attack against Jews in the Americas. And 2 years before this major attack, in 1992, the same Hezbollah, under orders from Iran, had already attacked the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires. We lost 29 lives there. 29 people, 2 attacks, the same country, the same hand. And the names that the Argentine justice system, even before Milei, long before identified as masterminds, are still, just so you know, at the top of this regime to this day. They're still there, folks. They're not in prison. Argentina back then, Miami and Tel Aviv now. You see the pattern, right, folks? It's been over 30 years of the same method, the same regime. And now pay attention to the mystery that has come up in the last few hours, because it could change the way we see all of this. An Israeli security source told an Arab channel that Mustafa Khamenei, the new strongman of the regime, the man who's a ghost, right, a phantom, nobody knows where this guy is, wouldn't be in Iran. Well, for those who follow the channel, you know this might not be news, right, guys? It's not news because I brought this up a while ago. And they also said that the statements signed in his name are being written by others, by the leadership of the Revolutionary Guard. And here I need to remind you, for those who've been following the channel for a while, about something that came out a while ago, which I covered here for you, and that almost everyone has already forgotten. At a certain point in that war, right at the beginning, right after his father was eliminated, there were reports that Mustafa had been transferred to Russia for treatment. At the time, that went unnoticed by a lot of people. It became a footnote. Nobody paid attention. Nobody talked about it. But I covered it here on the channel first. But now, again, with this report that he might not be in Iran, that old piece comes back into play and starts to fall into place. The story comes back in pieces, guys, because here we never forget those little footnote details from back then. For those who've been here longer, drop a comment, you remember this very well. And look how it all fits together, guys. The Iranian foreign minister himself admitted in an interview that he still hasn't met Mustafa in person at this stage and that very few people have met him. So let me be clear here, this is just a report, okay? This isn't confirmation, it's just like those footnotes from before, it's the same thing. But honestly, guys, if he's alive, he's not in Iran. That's what I've always thought. I've always thought that. I really think he's in Russia, in the same place where Bashar al-Assad is, hiding there in Russia too. So why wouldn't he be there as well? But put the pieces together with me. A leader that nobody sees, statements that might not even be from him. The foreign minister Aragaz also admitting security gaps that still exist and deep internal disagreements at the top. So if that's true, who's really in charge of Iran today isn't the supreme leader. It's not him, it's the Revolutionary Guard ruling in his name behind the scenes. And a regime led by cornered generals without a real figurehead at the top is a much more unpredictable regime. Not less, but much more unpredictable. And on our side, the signs keep piling up. And what signs? Take a look. According to a security source, the United States plans to position about 100 refueling planes in Israel. Guys, 100. For those of you planning a trip to Israel, know that this could cancel your trip, okay? It could suspend civilian flights at the international airport. Before, it was 55, then it went to 60, 70, now it's 100 refueling planes, dozens of them already arrived over the weekend. And that's not all, okay? The Americans are also moving their refueling planes from their huge base in Qatar and bringing them to the Ufda base here in Israel in the south near Eilat to get these planes out of Iranian range in case things escalate. And why could this affect your trip or your departure from Israel soon? Because there's not enough space for all of this. There's not enough space for all these planes at the international airport. More fighter jets are also coming. Fifth generation advanced fighter jets are leaving England and heavy fighters are leaving Germany, all heading toward the Middle East. It seems the bombers have now returned to England. Today they went back to England, folks. Those bombers, the B-2 and B-52, are already in England ready to act. In practice, the Americans are pulling out what is exposed there in the Gulf. Very easy to be hit there, and concentrating here in Israel behind the Israeli shield. That's what's happening. Israel is becoming the secure rear area for this operation. This is also a demonstration of confidence in Israel's defense systems. But it's also, and pay attention to this, another reason for Iran to start looking over here, folks. To start seeing Israel as a target. Because every American plane stationed here is a target that Iran might want to hit. The war is getting closer to our borders from both sides, with the missile that hits Aqaba, Jordan, and the plane that lands in Ovda. Ovda is an Air Force airfield that is also very close to the city of Eilat. And now, let's do a quick reading here, everyone. Join me for a moment quickly. Missiles at Eilat's doorstep, the American night drawing the same map of ports and access points, Kuwait getting hit twice, in water and in power. Look at this. That explosion there, everyone, is over in Kuwait. Okay? That's a water desalination plant. This is extremely serious. Very serious, everyone. Very serious. The Emirates are openly in Iran's crosshairs. A cell in Miami, a plan in Tel Aviv, a phantom leader that no one sees, and 100 refueling planes moving to Israel. These are not random news stories at all. It's the same story closing in from all sides at the same time. As we wrap up this quick update with you, we've also just received some breaking news. Pay attention. According to Fox News, after the heavy attacks on American bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan, Trump is said to have given the order for the largest offensive against Iran so far. The largest so far. Will it start today? Will it start tomorrow? For now, he is said to have given this order, and we're already getting reports of 5 explosions in the Tabriz region in Iran right now at this very moment. And Iran has also fired at Bahrain. Okay? This is happening right now in real time. Explosions in Tabriz. Now, maybe the second or ninth round of American attacks against Iran has started. The World Cup is over, right? We don't have any more excuses. And look at what changes from now on, actually. What changes? Everyone was talking about this. The World Cup is over. It's over. And with the end of this World Cup, all the excuses are over too. Until now, there was always a reason to avoid greater escalation, but now there isn't, guys. The only question is, will it go all the way this time? Or are we going to have a pause in the middle of everything against Iran? Because Iran gave a 3-day deadline, and today that deadline ends, guys. Today it ends. Today is the last day of the deadline, okay? So, today, in the early hours of today, can we say the deadline has expired? That if the United States didn't stop attacking Iran, they would attack with full force all the Gulf countries. They said that. They gave a 3-day deadline. Today, the Iranian deadline ends. I don't see any signs of retreat from the American side, so we're really heading toward a major escalation in the region. But Iran is weak. Iran has nothing, guys. Iran is not as weak as you think. They have a lot. They still have many things that haven't been used yet. They can still cause a lot of damage in that region, okay? They really can. So don't go thinking everything is great, that everything is over. It's not, man. It's not, okay? Right now, as I'm talking to you, for example, Kuwait announced that their air defenses are intercepting Iranian drones at this very moment. In real time, guys, right at this exact moment. And that fills in a missing piece. Remember I told you that tonight was quieter than the previous ones, right? Well, it might have been. Just the calm before the next step. The silence of someone loading the weapon before the big shot. And there's more. Trump also wants to include Iran in the same package of sanctions that was being put together against Russia. Just pay attention to the move here, guys. He's stitching both conflicts into a single package, treating Moscow and Tehran as the same problem at the same table. Do you remember the framework from the beginning of the video? The world is slipping gently, actually, I think pretty quickly, back into a major conflict, and here's the proof on paper. The two fronts are becoming a single issue in the hands of the United States, the same sanctions. And from the Iranian side, a response came in the usual tone. One of the regime's national security chiefs sent a direct message to the American soldiers. He said the following: "Run while you still can. Don't waste a second." And on the Israeli side, the message was even harsher and has just arrived as well. The Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, gave the following warning: if Iran attacks Israel, Israel will respond without depending on anyone, without any conditions. And the Chief of Staff also said the following: that the defense forces are ready to return to combat immediately against anyone who dares come at the country. It's not let's evaluate, it's not let's ask Trump for permission, it's a red line drawn in public. So put all of this together that I showed you today, and there's only one conclusion left. Neither side is stepping on the brakes, everyone here is flooring the accelerator, really flooring the accelerator, guys. So, to wrap up here, let's just take a second. To wrap up here, what you really need to watch in the next few hours, I'm not even going to say in the next few days, just what's important. First, the south of Israel. Aqaba, the border there. Eilat and Aqaba, the border. If the alarm goes off, people living in the area need to take that alarm seriously and run to the shelter. Today's episode showed that the fighting can reach there and that the American warnings proved true. The Americans are able to identify movements of missile launchers. They can intercept radio communications because before a launch, someone is giving the order on where to fire, and that's why they knew where the missile was going, okay? They may not have known the missile's launch site, but they heard the order for its launch. So, when we see a threat like the one that happened today, Aqaba airport is next to Israel, right next to Eilat. If you live in Eilat, it's better to be prepared and not be too exposed because this could happen there too. Secondly, the United Arab Emirates. The threat was made with a significant word, they used that. If a missile falls in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, this becomes a much bigger story again. And for our friends who live in the Gulf, who follow the channel, residents of Abu Dhabi and Qatar, keep water at home, my friends, stock up. I've said this here before and I'll say it again, stock up on water. That can save you for a long time. Did you see what's happening in Kuwait? Soon they will be without water. They hit the desalination plant. Soon they won't have, I think they don't have water anymore. They don't, okay? I think Kuwait is in that situation now. 90% of their water comes from the sea. If they destroyed everything, where will they get water? So look around you. This is happening right now at this very moment. So buy water. If you stay there, if you remain in that place, stay there, but buy a lot of mineral water. Third, the mystery of Mustafa. If they confirm that he's out of Iran or that whoever signs for him is the Revolutionary Guard, you'll know that the regime is more fractured inside than any analysis can say. So focus on these 3 points. Everything else is just background noise. I'll end here with the truth. The planet is on fire, guys, in more than one place at the same time. Kiev is burning on one side of the map. Russian refineries are going out one by one, okay? They're attacking directly Russian refineries too. And here, missiles are reaching the doorstep of Eilat. The images from Russia are apocalyptic. I don't know if you guys are noticing this. These are apocalyptic images, guys. The explosions are insane, okay? Cities covered in black clouds. I'll try to do a video just about this, but what's happening over there is really serious, guys. It's really serious, okay? Huge lines, days-long lines just to be able to fill up the car. People selling their spot in line for absurd amounts to swap with someone when it's time to fill up. It's getting bad over there. It's getting worse every day. And that could lead Putin to a response that nobody wants to happen, right? That could also happen over there. It's already getting worse every day. I can't wait. Soon this guy will probably go crazy and do something really big against Ukraine. Oil, energy, and water. Today's wars are targeting just that, folks. They don't target the armies, they target what makes life work. That's what's happening there, that's what's happening here. And Israel, which stayed out of the line of fire this whole round, felt the blast at the window today. In other words, at any moment from 0 to 100, we could get into this conflict. I'm not telling you that a missile is going to fall here tomorrow. I'm telling you that the distance between us and this conflict today is as small as the bay between Eilat and Aqaba. You saw how close it is, right? Look at the distance, guys. It's crazy, right? On this side is Jordan and here is Eilat. Here is Israel. This is all that separates them. That's the distance. There's nothing, nothing. And here, there's no real fortified border, okay? Just for those who asked, there's no huge wall here. It's a small fence between Jordan and Israel. It's very easy to get there, and the missiles that were directed at this place could easily land here. Just a slight change in direction could make it end up where it shouldn't. You can see the other side with the naked eye. I'm reporting live from Israel in the Judean mountains, tracking every movement, flight, and decision happening in the next few hours. And when the next piece on this board falls, I'm here to explain everything to you. And that's the secret of this job, guys. Many times a statement seems random, I've said this before, thrown out there without rhyme or reason, but it only reveals its meaning when you fit it into the right place on the board. That's exactly why I'm here, doing this job for you, putting the pieces together one by one. And if I missed anything, if you noticed a detail that I couldn't see, write it here in the comments so we can put this puzzle together again soon. Mainstream media doesn't connect the dots like this. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share, and send to your family group. Let's end, as always, with our daily Hebrew lesson routine. Today's sentence is the following. The storm is approaching, but we are ready. It means the storm is approaching, but we are ready, okay? The storm is approaching, but we are ready. Did you learn it? Did you write it down? Wrote it down? Do you want me to put this on the screen too? There are people who are really writing all this down. I can start putting it on the screen. Every day I put a new word there for you to learn. Let's see. Let's see here. Take a look. First wave of attacks against Iran at this very moment. It's the first wave in the north of Iran, not in the south anymore, in the north of Iran. CENTCOM has just announced the start of the 9th night of attacks against Iran as well. Let's review CENTCOM's full statement. The attacks aim to continue damaging Iran's military capabilities, which are used to attack merchant and civilian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Statements from CENTCOM. Oil has already surpassed $90, all right? Brent has already gone up to $91 right now. 5 strong explosions in Tabriz. Several explosions today at the port of Marasha. And the command, CENTCOM, said the following. CENTCOM began today at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. A new wave of attacks against Iran, marking the 9th consecutive night. These attacks will continue to weaken Iran's military capabilities, which are used to attack merchant and civilian ships sailing through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, we're starting another night, folks. Another night of attacks in Iran. If anything serious happens or the sirens go off in Israel, I'll return immediately. Let me get back to the super chat. Thank you, Joseval, for the super stick. Niels Brent, I'm Jewish, but this war can't be won. With airstrikes, Iran has spent 50 years burying its military apparatus. $50,000 drones. 50,000. You're exaggerating, aren't you? Actually, there are much cheaper ones than that, protected by $1 million missiles. Only an internal revolution and the bomb. It's going to happen, folks. This plan is much more obvious than a lot of people think. Much more obvious. This plan to use the Kurds. That's why the Iranians are attacking the Kurds every day. Because they know that the Kurds, sooner or later, will come in from the north, while the United States will come in from the south, okay? So this could really happen. This ground invasion to overthrow the regime from within. Thank you, Julio. Cesar, Davi, hugs to you and to Jerusalem. Thank you, Felipe. Davi, the Gulf countries are very slow to act and take it quietly. Is that complicity or fear? It's fear. Felipe, it's fear. They will only really get into this war when they are absolutely sure that Iran is going to fall. You can imagine what it means to live in a glass house, right? The Gulf countries live in glass houses, guys. They live in glass houses. What are you going to do? Those cities have a glass roof. If you fire, it's from the other side. Imagine if it's from the other side. It's very close. It's very close. So they're really very afraid of getting into a face-to-face war with Iran because they would be annihilated, okay? And they're very fragile too. Much more like the Gulf, like Kuwait. You destroy the water desalination plant there. That's it. Imagine Dubai without water. If Kuwait runs out of water, yeah, Qatar without water. It's very easy to hit these places. There isn't a defense there that can really prevent that from happening. You don't need a long-range missile to hit those places. You only need a well-directed drone to hit and destroy that. So it's very simple for Iran to hit these sensitive locations. So they're afraid. They're really afraid, guys. But if the United States goes all the way and they realize that the end is coming, then they'll probably enter this war, yes. But right now, I don't think so. Davi, it's possible to occupy the entire Iranian coastline on land at the Strait of Hormuz, there at the island of Bandar Abbas, at the island of Kersh, in the city of Bandar Abbas, and the island of Kersh. The city, not the island, the city of Bandar Abbas is possible, okay? That's why they're isolating this city, destroying the bridges that connect this city to other places in Iran. They're destroying the bridges there. They're destroying the military capability of that region. They're weakening that region probably for a ground military operation there, okay? Specifically, in that area of Bandar Abbas and on Kersh Island, they're the ones who create all the problems for those passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, maintaining that military presence there for an indefinite period is another story. It's much harder for that to happen without Iran attacking that place every day, right? Like, after all, militias there acting as guerrillas. I think this situation is complicated, but the United States will likely launch a ground mission there. Davi, what do you think of this patient strategy? With both sides launching small attacks little by little, they're doing that, and Sun Tzu says no one gains from a long war. I think that the United States strategy at this point is kind of 50% correct. Because in my opinion, they need to eliminate the head of the regime. And again, with these guys who have now taken over the regime, they need to cut them out for good. I think that's what needs to happen. Remove these guys who harm negotiations, who harm everything in the region. Just eliminating targets like radars, anti-aircraft batteries, speedboats, they can replace those again in 3 weeks. They will replace them. There's no way not to do that. In other words, you have to actually destroy the leadership, not just the physical weapon targets. Danilo, Serafim, Davi, where have you been? Well, today I had a really busy day. I really couldn't go live this morning. Okay, I couldn't go live, guys. Extremely busy. And then when I was about to go live, the game was about to start. I said I'll wait for the game to end before I go live. I waited for the game to end since many people watched it, right? And Israel was, I'll tell you the truth, people here in Israel were really sad because Argentina lost, because Israel was rooting for Argentina. After Brazil was out, Israel started rooting for Argentina because of Milli. And Spain is anti-Semitic, right? The guy there, the president, the prime minister there, hates Israel. So Israel would never root for Spain. So I waited for this game to end. I didn't watch it. Honestly, I don't watch soccer and miss the game, but waited for it to end before starting this live stream from Israel. Davey, I read on Mossad and on X that Iran is using white phosphorus, a highly flammable chemical substance. Can you confirm this information? Yes, I confirm it. They've been using this kind of thing, this kind of weapon for a long time. For a long time. This missile here was the one that hit the base in Jordan, that struck the soldiers' dormitory and killed 2 soldiers. And today another soldier died and 1 is missing. So that's 3 American soldiers who have already died in this war. As of this recording, there may be more tomorrow. Thank you, Jose Guilherme, for the super sticker. Truly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks again to everyone who sent and continues sending pics to the channel. You guys are the real sponsors of the channel because we know that if we depended on YouTube, my friend, everything here would be volunteer work. Because the kind of material we show here, these kinds of images, they're not really well received by YouTube's system. We know how it works. Thank you, Salatil. Are the Kurds Sunni or Shia? Sunni, my friends, Sunni. Uh-huh. Some of them are Sunni, right? Not all of them. My friends, that's it for today's live stream. If major news breaks in the Middle East, I'll return immediately. Otherwise, see you tomorrow at noon here in Israel, or 7 a.m. there. Hugs to all, have a good night, and see you then.